So what we want here now, that I want to add a third activity. That activity will add two numbers and return me back the answer. Make sense? I'm not like making up something very interesting, but just simple. So what I need to do, I need to have the what you can say that a text view again. Let me have copy paste this thing here, so that uh, we have that particular specific text view, display result intent data. Okay, display result, and then I want to make it top to the top of no, I don't want this thing. I want constraint top to the bottom of what, display intent data. So it is going to be down of that one. Other than that, is everything is fine. And then I also need to put what you can say that put a button here, wrap content, putting the constraint top to the bottom of result display, constraint left to the left of the parent, and constraint right to the right of the parent. And we want to display the text here. Text is add two numbers, and then we put some margin here like 30 dp. Okay, right now we have this thing. And then I am just going to put the on click event, on click. So for example, add to number activity. Okay, and then you know that if we press alt enter, it will ask me to create that I want to create it. Fine, clear? Okay, so of course, before we can proceed, we need to add a new activity here. Again, we want to add an activity, empty activity. So we can say that third activity, and I put a my in the beginning as well, my third activity. Okay, I finish it. And now, as you know that for the my third activity, what we want to display two input fields to the user and a button. So what we need to do, I would say that edit text. Again, I say match parent and match parent, not match parent, sorry. Here we need to make wrap content, and then we say that let me close it down so that we can see the code here. Constraint left to the left of the parent, constraint top to the top of the parent, and then we have the constraint right to the right of the parent. And then we also need to provide the ID, because we want to access this edit text inside our code. So ID, I say that this one, I say that number 1 et edit text number 1. What else? I think that's it. We can have this thing, input type, I said number. It will not allow us to enter something else. And then I just copy paste this thing here, and then instead of having the top to the top of the parent, I say that constraint top to the bottom of number 1, and then I need to change that particular ID to number 2 et. Okay, and then we have this particular specific button here. Button, I say wrap content, and then we put some constraint top to the bottom of number 2, and then we can say that constraint left to the parent and constraint right to the parent. And then we put some text, return the answer. Return answer. Okay, and then we can have on click event. So we can say that return sum, and then we can press Alt Enter to create that particular specific object. So let's go back here. Now I need to create an intent object. Okay, fine. Intent, same way that we have defined before, new intent object. We pass this as a, here it will work because we are not inside the anonymous object, we are inside the activity class. And then we can pass on the my third activity dot class, and then here we are not going to call the start activity, we will say that start activity. Okay, start activity, I don't want to go here, start activity for results, for result, and then I pass this particular specific intent. And what else it is saying, that we need to pass an integer request code. Why I need to pass that particular specific request code? The reason is that we want to identify, maybe this activity is starting the multiple activities for the results. When it will, the result will come back to this activity, how will identify this result is coming for which activity? For example, we have multiple students here, and I assign different tasks to different students and ask them to give me back the results. How will identify that this result is coming from where? So we need to assign a specific request code. Again, if we want to assign a request code, we need to define a constant integer value. Constant integer value. Okay, so maybe we can make it static as well if we want to use in some other places. Okay, and then we can say that final, it is an integer type, and we can say that add request code, and then here we can give a value whatever, 79. Okay, fine, whatever you can select, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, some integer value that you need to give here. Try to be, you can make it negative, positive, doesn't matter. So here we can say that add request code. Now it is fine. Clear? On the other side, let me go back to my slides, and then you will see a little bit, we will see a little bit more things here before we can writing the code. So get intent object, we can get those values in the other side. Okay, this is for ID. So we have to pass a unique ID. Why we need to pass a unique ID? The reason is that we want to identify whenever it is going to be returned back the results, we want to identify that which specific activity, which specific process has returned me back the results, so that we can have different type of results. Based on those, we need to maybe process them differently. Okay, so we have to pass on not only the intent object, but as well as a unique ID that is representing the specific tasks that we have assigned to the other activity. A constant number in the calling activity, and start activity for results, and call it wait for the return. Will not wait. What do you mean by will not wait? It means we are making the call asynchronously. What you do, whenever you are method, you make a method call, your program control is shifted to that new method, it performs that particular specific activity, and then it returns back to the same position. Now what we are doing, we are making an asynchronous, not synchronous call. It will start the other activity, this activity, finish. Finish means that that method is finished. It will continue to the next step, next step, next step, and so on. So it is an asynchronous call to the other activity. So we have that defined that particular specific public static int, and then we also have the new intent. Again, we can put the values if we want, but we haven't put it here, and then we are giving the intent to activities, and then giving the intent and then the ID. the process ID. Okay, is it clear? So this is what we are going to do inside my second activity, and then I will come back to the previous two slides which I have just skipped quickly. Okay, understand my point? This is what we do in the second activity. Fine. What we need to do in the second activity? First of all, we need to make sure that the user has given some information inside those numbers. We need to make sure they are not empty. Yes or no? Oh. Time is passing quickly. So first of all, I need to make that particular specific added text num1, num2. I also put et as well. Okay, and then I also define two integer values, that is num1 and num2. Quickly, we need to what you can say that we need to initialize them. So num1 et is equal to find by view id r.id dot number1 et, and similarly we have num2 et is equal to find by id r.id dot number2 et. Is it clear? So we have those numbers, we have connecting those input fields, and on the click event we want to perform some actions. What we want to perform, for example, we have the string n1 str is equal to, we are say that num1.et.get text and make it to string, and again we have the let me copy paste here quickly. So we have the num2 here, num2 et, and then we also make it num2. We have these two strings, and now we can check if n1 str dot is empty, and then we have or any of them is empty, we are going to show a display message. N2 str dot is empty, we are going to show that particular specific toast message, and in the else part, if they are not empty, we need to perform something. What we need to do? We need to convert them into the numbers, yes or no? So we can say that num1 is equal to integer, not intent, integer dot parse int, and then we are giving the n1 str. The same thing we are going to do with the number 2, and 2 str, and that will become the number 2. Now we have these two numbers. Yeah. Now what I do, I create an intent object. Intent is equal to new intent, and then here what we are going to do, this and the main activity. Here it is not the main activity, is my second activity class. Okay, so we can pass on this, and then we say that my second activity dot class, which is going to be returned over there. Fine, and then what I'm saying here, I'm putting that value here. Okay, fine. So we can, but we need to define that particular specific static one. Static final string, but result underscore extra underscore int, and maybe we can put the same value inside it here as a string object, string value, and that is what we are going to pass off here. Intent dot put extra value, so we had the result extra, and then we give the value. What is the value? Num1 plus num2. Yeah, we are adding those values and putting that value inside the bundle, inside the intent object. And then here what we are saying, set result activity. Set result, okay, set result, okay man, set result, and then we can say that it is the result underscore okay, RESULT, result underscore cancel, result underscore first user, I say result underscore okay. It is actually has been defined inside the activity class, and then which intent object, I am just saying that this particular intent is okay. It is giving me the answer, and then I say finish. Finish mean we are not starting this other activity. We are just saying that stop that activity. It will be destroyed. When it will be destroyed, it will automatically return back this particular intent object that we have just created. They just created the result of okay intent. So this particular intent object is automatically returned back to the my second activity. When you finish this activity, we are not calling it by itself. Automatically by the system, because the other activity is expecting some results. So in this particular specific activity, we are set that this is the result intent which contain the result information. It will automatically pass back. Clear or not clear? This specific point, we are not calling this particular start an activity with this intent. No, we are just saying that finish this activity, and it will automatically send back the intent for which we have configured the results. Is it clear? It will be passed back to the my second activity automatically. Am I fine? Everything is following this thing? So let's go back to my other previous two slides. Here we are saying that we are passing a unique ID, and we are also saying that this is an asynchronous call. I mean, we are not waiting the other activity or other method to finish its call and return back on the same position. No. For example, we have called this particular activity inside this method. It will call this method and it will finish this method. Done. Yes or no? This method, which is on click even, finished. But how we are going to receive back that answer, that result from the other activity? For that we need to have to implement or override this particular specific method, onActivityResult. Understand? onActivityResult. We have to override this particular specific method which is already there inside the activity. So let me override it here. onActivityResult. This one. And look at that. When I click on that, actually it is having some parameters automatically coming in. This is the request code. Request code that we have sent by ourselves with our activity. When we call the other activity for result, this is the code that we have sent it. We know exactly what code it is. Yes or no? So when this particular activity onActivity method is going to be called, when it will going to call, when the other activity is finished, it will automatically call this particular method and pass the request code. It will also pass the result code, and it will also pass that intent object that we have created over there, in which we put that result value. And now in this particular specific method, we are going to check. We can just simply say that switch on what? On the request code. And then we can say that case what? Our add request code break. If the request code is this one, then what we want to do. Maybe we have multiple activities for the results, so we can, based on the request code, we can distinguish which activity has give me back the answers. So what we want to do, we have defined in the second activity, we have defined that particular specific text view, yes, but we have not assigned maybe we can do it here. So we can say that text view is equal to find by view id r.id display result. Okay, and then here we have that particular intent object, that is a data. Yes, so we can access, we can simply say that we have a string, not string, it is an integer value. So int, not int only, result is equal to data dot get int extra. And then, as you know that we have defined this particular specific thing here, so we can access it in the other, it is a third activity. So my third activity dot result extra, and because it require the default value, so we have that particular specific integer. And you know that if we want to set it inside, so we can simply say that text view dot set text, and then we can put something like this, result of addition is, and then we can put that particular result here. That should be fine. So it will show that particular result inside that particular specific text view. Fine. So let's run it and see how it is happening. Where is my, yep, here it is. So first of all, we need to provide that name here. Second activity is gone. We add that particular specific thing here. We can give, maybe if I don't give the number, it should show me that no,
You can put a message into that section.
we didn't add that particular message. So, okay, that just, but you know that when I click on without a number, it is giving me the 34. Even I give not second number, it is not giving me. Maybe I can add 4 here, and then I click. When I having all those things, 34 plus 4, 38. Answer is coming up. So that is how we can ask the other activities to perform some function, perform some process, and return me back the answers. Starting another activity for results. So what we need to do here, we need to implement that specific method on activity result. Starting other activity exactly the same, just we start an activity, start activity. Start activity for results is exactly the same. We can create intent object, put some extra value, start other activity, fine. Same, there's no difference except that we need to provide that specific request code within that particular specific start for result. And then we need to implement that particular specific on activity result, which has 3 parameters as an input. One is the request code that we have sent with our request, and the result code we can check with the for result code. If the result code is this, we have cancel, we have the first user, we have the OK result. If the OK, we show something. If it is cancelled, for example, on the other side we also have the cancel button. It's a cancel. Maybe we don't get the result properly because the operation has been cancelled. So we can check, we can have if that particular specific result code is equal to cancelled or OK or first user, something like that, we can do different actions based on that particular specific result code as well. And then this is the intent object, which actually has the results that we are expecting from the other activity. Based on that particular request code, we can identify which specific result has came back, and we can process them accordingly. Clear? Anything before we can get to the explicit. We talk about the explicit till now, and then in the next class we will be talking about the implicit intents. That is the next lecture. So let me stop my video here and